Hello friends, welcome to State Engineering Service Examination and SSC section of Winds of Change. In this we will cover so many questions that are related to various subjects that have frequently been asked in various examinations. For any problem, you may contact us at windsoftchange2020@gmail.com. You may like this video, comment on this video for any feedback and share this video if you find it useful. And to download study material, you can visit to our app Winds of Change from Google Play Store. You can download it where you will find all the study materials. Welcome to second video in the continuation of top 80 questions of steel structure. In this video, we will cover question number 31 to 60. So let's begin. 31st question. For a compression member with double angle section, which of the following section will give the larger value of the minimum radius of gyration? Here we are talking about the minimum radius of gyration. Okay, equal angle back to back, unequal legged angle with long legs back to back, unequal legged angle with short legs back to back, or both B and C. Just think about it. We are talking about a compression member with double angle section. Which one will give the larger value of minimum radius of gyration? Okay, so larger value will be obtained for option B, that is unequal legged angle with long leg back to back. Okay, this is the long leg which is being connected back to back and the shorter leg will be outstanding. So this will produce the larger value of minimum radius of gyration. Okay, radius of gyration, that is root I by A. Okay, next question. According to IS specification, the effective length of a column effectively held in position at both ends and restrained in direction at one end is taken as 0.67 L, 0.8 L or 1.5 L. Just think about it. In this condition, one of the end is effectively held in position as well as restrained in direction. Another end is effectively held in position but not restrained in direction. Okay. So what will be the answer here? It will be 0.8 L. Okay, that is option B will be correct. These are all the cases. First case in which one end is restrained and other end is free. So that is 2 L. Now this is the condition in which both ends are effectively held in position but not restrained in direction, then it will be L. If one end is effectively held in position and restrained in direction and other end is like roller supported kind of condition, then it will be 1.2 L. If the condition which is given in the question, both the ends are effectively held in position but only one end is restrained in direction, which is this one, so in this case L effective will become 0.8 L. Okay, another condition in which both of the ends are effectively held in position and restrained in direction, then this will be given by 0.65 L. Okay, so these are being explained in the video of revision of steel structure. You can go to that video from the link in the description box, or you can watch this video from the app of Winds of Change. Next question. The minimum thickness of the steel plate which is directly exposed to weather and is not accessible for cleaning and repainting should be 4.5 mm, 6 mm, 8 mm or 10 mm. Here we are talking about the minimum thickness of the steel plate that is directly exposed to weather. First of all, it is directly exposed to weather and it is not accessible for cleaning and repainting, so we cannot do any treatment after placing it. Okay, so minimum thickness that should be present, it should be 8 mm. Okay, option C will be the correct answer. Memorize it, it is an important question. Next question. The elastic strain for steel is about 1 by 12 of the strain at initiation of strain hardening and about 1 by 120 of maximum strain, or 1 by 2 of strain at initiation of strain hardening and about 1 by 12 of the maximum strain, 1 by 12 of the strain at the initiation of strain hardening and 1 by 200 of maximum strain, or 1 by 24 of the strain at the initiation of strain hardening and about 1 by 200 of the maximum strain. Just think about it. Here we are talking about the elastic strain, the range of the elastic strain. Okay, so the elastic strain answer will be option C, that is 1 by 12 of the strain at the initiation of the strain hardening and 1 by 200 of the maximum strain. It can be explained here. This is the elastic strain. Now this value should be 1 by 12 of the strain at the strain hardening. Okay, let's say this is strain hardening starting and this is the value of maximum strain. Okay, that will be developed. So it should be 1 by 12th of this one and 1 by 200th of this one. We are talking about this value of elastic strain. Okay, got the concept here. Next question. In a gusseted base, when the end of the column is machined for complete bearing on the base plate, then the axial load is assumed to be transferred to the base plate fully by direct bearing, fully through fastening, 50% by direct bearing and 50% through fastening, or 75% by direct bearing and 25% through fastening. Just think about it. We are talking about the gusseted base condition at the end of the column. What will be the answer? Think about it. Since this is a condition in which the column is machined for complete bearing on the base plate, then the condition of the axial load, which is assumed to be transferred to the base plate by 50% by direct bearing and 50% through fastening. So answer C will be the correct answer. Okay, in this case 50% load is being transferred by the bearing and 50% by fastening. You can watch here about this condition. This is direct bearing. If this is machined, then 50% load will be transferred directly and 50% by these fastening. Okay, when ends of the column is machined for complete bearing of the base plate, 50% of the load is assumed to be transferred by bearing, 50% by fastening. Now we will see other condition also. When the ends of the column shaft and the gusset blade are not faced for complete bearing, the fastening connecting them to the base plate shall be designed to transmit all the forces to which the base is subjected. If this is not machined, okay, then we will assume that these fastening will be responsible for taking all the loads. Okay. Next question. Shear buckling of the web in plate girder is prevented by using vertical intermediate stiffener, horizontal stiffener at neutral axis, bearing stiffener, or none of the above. Think about it. We are talking about the shear buckling of the web in plate girder. Okay. How shear buckling can be prevented? First of all, think about the condition. Shear buckling will occur in the portion of web only. Okay, so web can be improved by providing vertical intermediate stiffener. Okay, these are the vertical stiffeners which will be provided to improve this web. Okay, the strength of the web can be improved so that shear buckling cannot occur. Next question. For a standard 45-degree fillet, the ratio of size of fillet to throat thickness is 1:1, 1:√2, √2:1, or 2:1. Just think about it. The size of the plate is S and throat thickness is T. So ratio of S by T, what it will be? It will be option C, that is √2:1. Okay, this is the size of the weld. Okay, let's say this is S. So this throat thickness, this value will be T. Okay, so this T value, this S by T value will become √2:1. Okay, memorize it, it is very important. Next question. Shape factor is a property which depends only on the ultimate stress of the material, only on the yield stress of the material, only on the geometry of the section, or both on the yield stress and ultimate stress of the material. We are talking about the shape factor. Think about it. Shape factor is the ratio of plastic section modulus upon elastic section modulus of any section. So that will depend only upon the geometry of the section. That is option C. Memorize it, it is also important. Next question. If the thickness of the plate to be connected by a rivet is 16 mm, then the suitable size of the rivet as per Unwin's formula will be 16 mm, 20 mm, 24 mm, or 27 mm. Can you recall the Unwin's formula in your mind? This is direct formula based question and very easy question. The Unwin's formula is given by 6.01 root T, where T is the thickness of the plate to be connected. Now here thickness of plate is 16 mm, so root T value it will become under root 16, that is 4. 4 into 6 it will become 24 mm. Okay, so size of the rivet will become 24 mm, that is option C will be the correct answer. Memorize this formula. Next question. Horizontal stiffener in a plate girder is provided to safeguard against shear buckling of the web plate, compression buckling of the web plate, yielding, or all of the above. We are talking about the horizontal stiffener. Why we provide the horizontal stiffener in plate girder? What is the purpose of it? The The answer will be option B, that is compression buckling of the web plate. These are the horizontal stiffeners. Okay, so these are being provided so that this web plate, this should not fail in compression buckling. Okay, and in the case of the vertical stiffener, why we provided? To prevent it from the web buckling. Okay, so both of these stiffeners are important. Next question, maximum slenderness ratio of a steel column, the design which is governed by wind or seismic forces is. We are talking about the maximum slenderness ratio of steel column in case of wind or seismic force. 150, 180, 250 or 350. Just think about it. The answer will be option C, that is 250. We have explained this in the starting of the video of steel structure revision. You can watch this video from the link in the description box and memorize these values. These values are very important. Okay, for different condition, what will be the value of the slenderness ratio? Like in the question, it is being asked that compression force from wind load or earthquake load, which was given in the question. So the value of slenderness ratio will be 250. Okay. Next question, the slenderness ratio for lacing bar should not exceed. This is a very important question. In case of the lacing bar, the slenderness ratio should not exceed 100, 120, 145 or 180. Just think about it. Can you recall the design of lacing bar in your mind? In that one, the slenderness ratio, that is KL by R, should not exceed 145. Option C will be the correct answer. We have explained this also in the same video of revision of steel structure, that is KL by R value of lacing bar should not exceed 145, where R is T by under root 2. Okay, T is the thickness of plate, that is lacing plate. Next question, bolts are most suitable to carry shear, bending, axial tension or shear and bending. What will the answer? Bolts can carry shear also, bending also, axial tension also, or shear and bending also, but which one is the most suitable? For what we prepare a bolt, we use a bolt. We use it for axial tension. Bolt are suitable mainly to carry this one only, that is axial tension. Okay. Next question, the overlap of a batten plate with the main member in the welded connection should be more than, where T is the thickness of the batten plate, 3T, 40, 60 or 80. Here we are talking that batten plate, when these are being connected to the main member, then the portion that will overlap to it, that has to be more than, T is the thickness of the batten plate. What will be the answer? It will be 40, that is option P will be correct. Okay, the minimum value of the overlap of the batten plate when these are being connected to the main member and welded with it, then this value will become 40. Okay, that is the minimum overlap. Next question, intermediate vertical stiffener in a plate girder need to be provided if the depth of the web exceeds, where T is the thickness of the web, 50T, 85T, 200T or 250T. Just think about it. Intermediate vertical stiffeners, when we provide it if this ratio exceeds 85T. Okay, that is option B will be the correct answer. Okay, depth of web upon T, this ratio, when this ratio becomes more than 85, then we will provide intermediate stiffener. Okay, T is the thickness of web. Next question, the mechanism method and the static method gives lower and upper bound respectively on the strength of the structure, upper and lower bound respectively on the strength of the structure, lower bound on the strength of structure for both of it, and upper bound on strength of structure for both of it. What will be the correct answer from the plastic analysis? Just think about it. The answer will be option B, that is mechanism method. Mechanism method is responsible for upper bound theorem and static method is responsible for lower bound theorem. Memorize it, always memorize it in your mind. Okay, static method or equilibrium method, these are responsible for lower bound theorem, a load computed on the basis of the assumed equilibrium bending moment diagram. Okay, and in kinematic method or mechanism method or virtual method, in this it is responsible for upper bound theorem. Okay, the load is computed on the basis of the assumed mechanism. So memorize it, these are important, and you can watch this by pausing this video. I'm moving further. Next question. The range of the economical spacing of the trusses varies from L by 3 to L by 5, L by 4 to 2L by 5, L by 3 to L by 2, or 2L by 5 to 3L by 5, where L is the span. Here we are talking about the range of economical spacing of truss. The spacing of the truss that will vary from option A, that is L by 3 to L by 5. This is just we have to memorize it, nothing else. Next question. The steel beam supporting loads from the floor slab as well as from the wall is termed as stringer beam, lintel beam, spandrel beam, or header beam. The question is saying that the beam is supporting load from both. First of all, it is supporting load from the floor slab, and it is also supporting load from the walls, the wall that will be above it. These beams are called as spandrel beam. That is option C will be correct answer. Okay. Next question. In moment resistance connections, the moment resistance of the riveted connection depends upon shear in rivet, compression in rivet, tension in rivet, or strength of rivet in bearing. Here we are talking that moment resistant connection, the moment resistance of riveted connection. For riveted connection, the moment resistance will depend upon which one will be the correct answer. Just think about it. It will be dependent upon tension in the rivet. Okay, option C will be the correct answer. The moment resistance of riveted connection will depend upon the tension in the rivet. Okay. Next question. If 20 mm rivets are used in lacing bars, then the minimum width of the lacing bar should be 40 mm, 60 mm, 80 mm, or 100 mm. What is the criteria for minimum width of the lacing bar? Can you recall it? In the design of lacing bar, the criteria for minimum width of lacing bar should be 3 times the size of the rivet. It should not be less than 3 times of the size of the rivet or bolt. Okay, so it will be option B that will be correct, because 3 into 20 is 60 mm. Okay, so it will be option B, that is 60 mm. Next question. Steel tanks are mainly designed for weight of tank, wind pressure, water pressure, or earthquake forces. This is a very easy question. Steel tanks are used for storing the water. Okay, and mainly the forces which will be responsible on its wall will be water pressure. That is option C will be the correct answer. Okay. Next question. The shape factor of an isosceles triangle for bending about the axis parallel to the base is 1.5, 1.7, 2.0, or 2.34. Here we are talking about the shape factor of isosceles triangle for bending parallel to the base. For isosceles triangle, the condition which is being given here, this is the maximum value that can be obtained for the shape factor. So the answer will be option 2.34, that is option D. Okay, it can be obtained from here. You can watch this. ZP equal to A by 2 YC plus YT. Okay, from compression and tension side. So it will be computed from equal area axis. Answer will become 2.346. Next question. Which of the following condition is to be satisfied both in elastic and plastic analysis? Equilibrium condition, yield condition, plastic moment condition, or mechanism condition? Think about it. Very easy question. Yield condition occurs only in the elastic analysis. Plastic moment condition occur only in the plastic analysis, and mechanism condition also occurs only in the plastic analysis. So only the condition which will be occurring in both of these, in both of the cases of plastic and elastic analysis, that will be equilibrium condition. So option A will be the correct answer. Okay, correct answer will be equilibrium condition. Next question. Bending, compressive, and tensile stresses respectively are calculated based on the net area and gross area and net area in both the cases, or gross area in both the cases. Bending, compressive, and tensile stress. If we calculate this in these cases, which area will be taken? Think about it. Very easy question. In case of bending compressive stresses, we take gross area in the calculation, while in case of the tensile stresses, we take net area. So option B will be the correct answer. Okay. Next question. In the cross section of a weld, throat is the minimum dimension, average dimension, maximum dimension, or none of the above. In the cross section of the weld, what will be the throat? Think about it. The throat thickness is that size of the weld which is responsible if the weld can carry minimum stress in it. So it will be responsible for minimum dimension. So option A will be the correct answer. Throat thickness or effective throat is the minimum dimension of the cross section of the weld. Okay. Next question. For rivets in tension with countersunk heads, the tensile value shall be reduced by 25%, reduced by 33.3%, increased by 25% or increased by 33.3%. Here we are talking about the condition of the countersunk heads. In case of countersunk heads, the tensile value will be reduced by or increased by what amount? Just think about it. It will be option B, that is it will be reduced by 33.3%. This is the condition of the countersunk angle of the rivet. Okay, this is the base diameter, this is countersunk part, and in this case the tensile value shall be reduced by 33.3%. Next question. Load factor is always equal to factor of safety, always less than factor of safety, always greater than factor of safety, or sometimes greater than factor of safety. So we are comparing between load factor and factor of safety in this question. What will be the answer? Just think about it. Load factor is always greater than factor of safety. Okay, first of all, what will be the factor of safety? It is the yield load upon working load, okay, or yield stress upon working stress. If we take the condition of rectangular section, so this value, this working stress will be sigma y upon 1.5, so this value, factor of safety, will be around 1.5. And one thing which should be memorized here, that in the elastic analysis factor of safety is taken, while in the plastic analysis load factor is taken. Okay, what is load factor? It is the collapse load upon working load. So for rectangular section, its value can be obtained as 2.25. okay, so here we can see the result that load factor is more than factor of safety. But in general, if we go for any of the section, any of the particular condition, then we will always come to a result that load factor is always greater than factor of safety. Okay, next question. Lug angles. Lug angles are used to reduce the length of connection, or are unequal angles, or increases shear lag, or all of the above. Just think about it. Why we use lug angles? The answer will be option A, that is these are used to reduce the length of connection. Lug angles are like this. This is the main angle. Let's say this is main angle. So through this we connect a lug angle. Okay, it will be connected to this outstand flange also, as well as to the base gusset plate also. Okay, so now it will do the purpose of reducing the shear lag effect that will be generated in the outstanding flange. Okay, and it is not necessary that these are unequal angle. These can be equal or unequal angle. Usually equal angles are being taken, and these are used to reduce the length of connection. Okay, so option A will be the correct answer. Next question. The effective length of the battened column is increased by 5%, 10%, 15%, or 20%. What will be the answer? Very easy question. The effective length of battened column will increase by 10%. That is option B will be correct answer, because lambda effective is 1.1 times of lambda actual. Okay, in case of lacing column, the effective length is increased by what percent? It is increased by 5% in case of the lacing column. Okay, and in the battened column it is increased by 10%. Memorize this. Whatever I am saying, this is very important. Keep it in your mind. Next question and last question of this video. The static method of plastic analysis satisfies equilibrium and mechanism condition, equilibrium and plastic moment condition, mechanism and plastic moment condition, or equilibrium condition only. Think about it. Equilibrium condition will always be satisfied in case of plastic analysis, as well as in case of elastic analysis also. Answer will be option B, that is this static method of plastic analysis will satisfy equilibrium as well as the plastic moment conditions. Okay, so option B will be the correct answer. So here we will finish the 60th question of this video, and in the next video we will come up with the question number 61 to 80, that is 20 questions. Till that, subscribe to this channel and stay updated, and download the app of Winds of Change.